I don't think this is a tarpon. I think this is a redfish. We will see. Hopefully we will see. He hasn't jumped yet. Definitely feels like a redfish though. Okay, so what I want to do after catching that fish is I want to talk about my decision tree or my decision-making process when I'm out on the water trying to figure out what the fish are going to be biting on or trying to dial in that bite. And it's probably not what a lot of you are thinking. We see a lot of comments in the community where people are wanting to know what color to start out with, or what color is the best to use in this situation. But I'm going to go through my tree and you're going to find out that the actual color of the lure is going to be pretty far down on the list. So let's get right into it. So when I get out on the water, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the activity. I'm looking for signs of life. I'm looking for bait. I'm looking for birds. I'm looking for any type of commotion. Matter of fact, when I went to make this video, I went to launch at an area. As soon as that sun came up, I looked out there. There was no signs of life. There was nothing. I didn't even launch the kayak. I actually kept it in the back of the truck, and I went to this spot that we're here, and I'm glad that I did because there's a lot of bait around. Now, what happens in this situation is a lot of people are going to start throwing, whatever lure they had success with the last time they were out. And that might help you out a little bit. But the only issue is from day to day, things change up. So the next thing that I'm going to look for is when I'm seeing signs of life and I'm seeing the things that I'm looking for, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to notice what the bait is in the area. So we're going to be looking for, is it finger mullet? Is it shrimp? Is it bunker? Is it little fry bait like we've got going on today? And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to adjust my bait size to the profile of whatever the fish are feeding on. And a good thing to do is take a look at whatever the fish are feeding on. If you're seeing them blow up on surface, take a look at the fish that are spraying or the bait that's spraying out there. Or if you see something, shrimp skipping along the surface, something along those lines, those give you a little bit of clues on what these fish are going to be feeding on. Now, sometimes what happens is you'll see fish in the area, or you'll see boils or blow-offs in the area, but you're not seeing necessarily the fish feeding. So typically that means the fish are going to be feeding towards the bottom. So all these are little clues on where I'm going to be fishing at. If I'm seeing them blow up on the surface and chasing bait on the surface, then a lot of times I'm going to throw top water. And if I see them chasing bait fish in the middle of the water column, probably going to be throwing a paddle tail, a swim bait, something along those lines. And when I see the fish feeding on the bottom, a day like we have today where we got bluebird skies and there's absolutely no wind out there, a lot of times what I'm going to do is I'll throw a jerk shad, or I'll throw a tweaker or a prawn, a shrimp imitation, and bounce that right along the bottom. So before we get any further into this, I want to kind of recap what we're at. First, we're finding fish. We're making sure that there's fish in the area. A lot of people go right into changing lures and changing colors, and they haven't verified there's anything in the area. This could be a big waste of time, so make sure the fish that you want to catch are where you're going to be at. Then we're going to take a look at what they're feeding on, and we're going to try to mimic that, whether that be shrimp or whether that be bait fish, whatever that might be. We want to use our baits that are going to closest mimic what they're feeding on. And then what we want to do is we want to see where these fish are feeding at. Are they feeding on the surface? Are they feeding in the middle of the water column, or are they down below? So we want to make sure and pick the right depth on where we're going to put our lures to make sure that we have the best opportunity to put our lures in the faces of these fish where they're feeding at. But if you notice, I haven't even talked about color yet, because there's the next step that I'm going to do before color, and that's the retrieve. I'm going to try to figure out what retrieve they want. Do they want it fast? Do they want it slow? And this will determine what kind of weights that you're going to be using, because sometimes they want it at the surface, but they also want it slow, so you're going to use lighter weights. And sometimes they'll want it faster and they want it at the surface, so you'll use heavy weights, but then you'll have to reel it in faster to get it up there. So there's that variable there. Usually by then, we've gotten some bites or we caught some fish, and then this is where color comes into play. I use color to dial in that bite most of the time. It's very rare that a simple color change makes all the bites in the world, from going to no bites to catching all the fish that I want that day. So the rest of it is this decision tree. It's going through these steps. Using color is what I'm going to do to dial in that bite. Like today, I found where the fish were, I found out what they're feeding on, I found that they wanted a faster retrieve, and now that I'm doing that, I'm changing out my colors to see if the bite picks up a little bit better. Sometimes you'll see that they want one color more than another, but if you notice, the color is not the first thing that I'm doing. There's all these other things that are going to go before the color of the bait. So don't get stuck first thing trying to figure out what the color is. Figure out where the fish are, and then you can dial it in from there. Now, there are some old adages that's been around for a while. If it's clear water, you want lighter colors, or if it's dark water, you want darker colors, but there are some caveats that might change. For instance, if the water in your area is normally clear and then all of a sudden you've had a bunch of runoff that comes in there and it's turned cloudy, I've seen situations where the lighter baits still work because that's what the bait looks like in that area, and vice versa. If you're in an area that's normally dark and then it clears up for a little bit, I still found that dark baits work in those areas. So don't get stuck on just that old adage of, the same thing that we've known. Definitely change things up. You never know. Have a handful of colors. I like to go with a light color, a dark color, and a bright color, and then rotate those out. And sometimes you're going to find that they prefer one over the other, but it's very rare that that's going to make all the difference in the world. So I hope this video helps you out if you've ever had any questions on what to do once you get out on the water. And again, this is what I do and it works well for me. I would love to hear from you. What's your process to dial in that bite? What do you do when you get out on the water? So if you are new to fishing, or if you've been around for a little while and you're looking for some new tricks to hone your skills, I definitely recommend become a member at Salt Strong. And for more information, please check us out at saltstrong.com. As always, I really do appreciate you watching. I hope to see you again. Have a great day. Bye.